Welcome to Dialogue Interview Series. In this chat, we have a very special guest, Dr. Joseph J. Palakal, founder and president of Christian Musicological Society of India. Along with priesthood, he is a musician and ardent researcher of Syriac language and music. He has contributed articles to several international publications. Welcome, Father Joseph J. Palakal, CMI. We are delighted to have you with us. So, in this interview series, the first time I'm interviewing a musician. Okay. So, if you are comfortable, we can start with a song.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm delighted and thank you for inviting me to this Asianet News and Allied Channels audiences. And it is an honor to be with you. I'm going to chant a song in Aramaic.
Aramaic.
Syriac.
Okay, yeah.
Both are the same.
Yeah.
Barak mar, barak mar, barak mar, Makharwalan, Maran walahan Rahmanu sad taibusag, Sedra se Halen shwehev kandishav makhyane wala hae kadla shavenan bashrara kadla shavenan.
A very peculiar tune. What does this song mean?
Okay, I appreciate the use the word peculiar. That is the first and foremost thing. It is in fact peculiar. The song is from Syriac Kurbana in Syriac, which we don't usually hear these days. And here is, in the middle of the Kurbana, the priest, the celebrant becomes aware that he is insufficient to deal with the sacred mysteries. So he is telling God, I am unworthy. I am truly unworthy. Kadilla Shavenan, I am unworthy. Bishrara, in truth, I am unworthy. That kind of supplication, acknowledging his sinfulness, his inability to be in the sacred space and sacred moment, to handle the sacred mysteries.
Early times, Syriac language was considered as an elite language among the religious leaders,
yes,
Christian leaders. Mm-hmm. What happened to the Syriac language when languages like Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, Hindi, church service become widespread?
Okay, what happened to the Aramaic language? First of all, this is the language of Jesus. This is the spoken language in the first century Christian era in Palestine of the Jewish people. Okay. Jesus and they all spoke Aramaic. And the preaching took place in Aramaic.
And geographically, you can say the Middle East, right?
Yes, yeah. Middle East, yeah. Yes. It was a commercial language. In fact, Aramaic language was known in India. How do we know? In the edicts of Ashoka, okay, one of the languages of the edicts of Ashoka was Aramaic, which means there were people who knew only Aramaic in India at the time. Now, what happened to this language eventually? In the 7th century, when Islam became prominent in the Middle East, slowly Arabic replaced Aramaic. But in Kerala, in India, we didn't have an Islamic conquest. So Aramaic language that came to Kerala in the early Christian era continued here until today. Isn't it strange that I sang an Aramaic chant here in 21st century in Kerala? So this goes all the way back to the 1st century in Palestine.
Okay. Do you think did the Syriac language segregates its believers like Sanskrit did it to the common people?
Initially, no, okay, because it was the common colloquial language. So there was no conflict. But eventually, after the political changes in the Middle East, people became less and less knowledgeable about Aramaic, and Arabic became more prominent. So slowly Aramaic subsided it became, from colloquial language, it moved to liturgical language, language of worship. So that's what we see here. Until 1962, we are talking about 20th century, middle of 20th century, the priests in Kerala, the Syriac Christian priests in Kerala, knew Aramaic language. They worshipped in Aramaic language. But then people were not that educated in the language. So slowly we transitioned from Aramaic to the vernacular.
Exactly, the time is 1950s and all, right?
1962.
57 to 62. 57 to 62. That,
Yeah. 1962, we translated all the Syriac texts into Malayalam in Kerala. Eventually into other languages later, wherever there are St.
Who were the forefathers who initiated?
The hierarchy, the bishops of the Syriac churches, especially. I am talking more about the Syro-Malabar Church because that's where I belong to. That's what I'm more aware of. So the bishops decided that people don't understand what they are worshipping, so they translated the whole text into Malayalam.
There are many specialities in Syriac language.
Yes.
But when it comes to the tunes, what are the characteristics of Syriac tunes when compared to others?
Yes, very good. First of all, the syllabic structure of the poetic text. Syriac language is not very complex, but the poetic structure, there are complex poetic structures in Syriac. So the melody is very, very simple. Very simple melody that helps to sing continuously like an epic, like singing epic poems. For example, I'm singing the Malayalam version that Father Abel CMI, our from Kalabhavan, translated. ഉലകിന്നാഥ സവിനയമങ്ങേക്കുദയാരാധനയർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. And then keeps on singing the same text for quite a bit. So the poetic structure is very simple. Tarariram, tiraariram, tiraarirariraariram. This poetic pattern is quite familiar to us, Kerala. Pandannayude pallinu shauriyam pande pole phalikkುന്നിಲ್ಲ. That poetic structure is familiar to us. But there are other poetic structures that are not familiar to us, that is unique. For example, in one strophe means a stanza, in one stanza, about 17 verses. Again, coming back to Father Abel Abelichan, one of his translations of a Syriac melody into Malayalam. നിൻകൽപ്പനകൾ വീണ്ടും വീണ്ടും വായിച്ചവയൻ ചിന്താവനിയിൽ വേരും നീ ജീവിതമെന്നാൽ അവയോടൊന്നും ബന്ധമഴാതെ അതിൻ്റെ വഴിക്ക് മുന്നേറി ദൈവപിതാവേ സുതനായി തുടരാൻ അർഹതയേതുമെനിക്കില്ല നാഥാ സരള മനസ്സായി നീ ചുങ്കക്കാരനുമാപ്പേകി പാപിനിയോട് പൊറുത്തല്ലോ പൊറുതി എനിക്കും നൽകണമേ. There is another rhythmic peculiarity in this melody. This rhythm, as we understand in South India or in folk music, as in classical music, is steady flow of beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, steady flow of beats. But rhythm, it is not metric, it is not cyclic as we understand in India. It is what I would call, through my research, is semantic rhythm, meaning rhythm according to the meaning of semantic structure of the text. നിൻകൽപ്പനകൾ വീണ്ടും വീണ്ടും വായിച്ചവയൻ ചിന്താവനിയിൽ വേരൂന്നി. There's a pause there. And that's a time for meditation. Another, that is one semantic unit, meaning unit. നിൻകൽപ്പനകൾ വീണ്ടും വീണ്ടും വായിച്ചവൻ ചിന്താവനിയിൽ വരും ജീവിതമെന്നാൽ അവയോടൊന്നും ബന്ധമിഴാതെ അതിൻ്റെ വഴിക്ക് മുന്നേറി. Another semantic unit. So there is a pause there. So it takes into consideration the musicality of the common people, not specialists, but ordinary people. So the whole congregation can sing. They don't have to strain to reach a higher pitch or a too low a pitch.
Later, the Europe, the Latin got domination over the Christianity.
Political domination.
Political domination. So what happened to the Syriac language, tradition and music?
Okay, good question. Rome was the political machinery in those days. They had the power, they had the money, they had the institutions. So they took over the whole thing. Fortunately, Persia, Edessa, the land of Aramaic culture, that was outside the Roman Empire. So Eastern Christianity evolved, flourished in Eastern regions outside the Roman Empire. So they were not affected by that. India were not affected by the influence of Rome. We grew independently. That is one reason why we should treasure the Aramaic language and liturgy in India and in the Middle East.
Okay, personally I am not much exposed to Syriac music, so initially I feel a little bit complex when it comes to text.
Okay.
When I talk, before this interview, when I talked to some church choir groups, they said the Syriac chants at first seems bitter, then sweet later. That's the feedback I got from them. So what's your take on this?
Very good. That's a reasonable feedback. My take on this is, because I grew up with it. I was born in 1951. So the liturgy was still in Aramaic, Syriac. Aramaic and Syriac are the same, first of all. So at Pallipuram in my church, there were good church musicians.
Alapura Pallipuram.
Alapura Pallipuram. So I grew up listening to them. I was mesmerized by this music, the way they sang, the melodies and all that. So my ears were tuned to it. At the age of 9, I made my debut public singing by singing a Syriac chant. It's amazing that as a 9-year-old boy, I learned a Syriac melody for the Feast of the Blessed Virgin Mary on August 14th. And I made my debut on August 14th. And then I never thought I would come back to, as an adult, I will come back to this. This is the melody that I sang when I was 9 years old. The song I... Nagadol Klila Dasamirasa Dalikar Mariam, Mary, that is the word, Aramaic word for Mary. So when you look back, is it complex? Yes, it is not. It is different from what we are used to in Kerala. But once we pay attention and learn the technique, the music structure, then it becomes easy.
In India, what are the experiments going on in Syrian music? In my little research, there are some commendable efforts to blend Syriac music with Carnatic and Hindustani ragas.
Okay, there are two aspects to that question. One is my own experiment with introducing raga into Hindustani raga into Aramaic chants. The other is there has been in the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries, there has been a blending of Aramaic tradition and Indian tradition. Why 17, 18, 19, after the Portuguese came here, they wanted to change our worship language into Latin. But our forefathers resisted because they clung on to the Aramaic language because that's the language of Jesus. They had that affinity toward that tradition. But Portuguese missionaries wanted to change it. They resisted it. And what happened? They translated Latin chants into Malayalam.
Latin chants to Malayalam?
I'm sorry. They translated Latin chants into Aramaic, Syriac.
Syriac.
So the theme remained the same, but the language changed. And in that transition, there were also Indian elements came in. Example, Tandum ergo is a Latin chant that is used particular occasions in church around the world. But in Kerala, when they insisted that they should do away with Aramaic, but they wanted to introduce Latin forms of worship here. So what our forefathers did was they took the chants and translated them into Aramaic. So they felt comfortable. We are singing Latin text, but we are singing it in Aramaic. And what did they do? For example, they incorporated Indian rhythms and Kollandashane. This is typical translation of a Latin chant. But look at the rhythm structure. Kollandashane nakare ule nes godmayo selera. 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's like our Misra Chapadala, 7-beat talam. Not that 7-beat talam is not available in other cultures, but the way we divide the 7 beats into 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 into 3 segments is peculiar to India, especially South India. So they accommodated the text they composed the text into this particular style of rhythmic structure. So similarly, there have been so many adaptations.
What are the activities and achievements of Christian Musicological Society of India led by you?
Okay.
Could you please enlighten us?
That is my favorite subject. When I was doing my studies, I went to United States to do masters in ethnomusicology. Ethnomusicology is study of
it's not in India.
Not in India. We don't have it. Yeah. So while preparing for the doctoral thesis proposal, I thought I have to do something that nobody else has studied. That is every PhD scholar's ambition, to study something that nobody else has studied. So I knew, I grew up with Syriac chants. I knew that this Syriac chants is complex, and so why shouldn't I take that for my dissertation? So my proposal was about Syriac chants in South India. Fortunately, my professor, Professor Stephen Blum, was a specialist in Persian music. So he could connect with Syriac music because geographically the source is there, although we have modified it quite a bit here. So he agreed to be my guide, and that's how that journey ended. And my doctoral dissertation is on first academic study of a Syriac tradition in India. So it's a pioneering work. And
that's great.
Yes, thank you. And while studying that, I thought it shouldn't stay with me. The learning and knowledge that I got should reach out to a larger public. So in 1999, I decided to start Christian Musicological Society of India. When I proposed the term, many people were unaware. What is musicology? They know music, but musicological society was something new to them. So it is a continuation of what I did in my doctoral dissertation, studying about music, its history, its relevance to the local cultures, the mixing of cultures, and so on. So Syriac chants is a fertile ground for any doctoral PhD student. And that is the origin of Christian Musicological Society of India.
Okay. How the transition happening in Suryani music when it comes to the new generation?
The new generation, there are two ways of looking at it. The new generation, that is generation after me, I was able to listen to Syriac chants when I grew up, because in the 1950s. But by the time the new generation came, the worship became in Malayalam. So they are not used to it. One place they listen to this music is at the funeral. And they started associating Syriac chants with funeral services. So sometimes I have heard young people saying, Syriac chants, oh, that is music of the dead people. Unfortunately, that is out of lack of knowledge. The melody that I spoke earlier is like bright. There are so many bright melodies, fast-moving melodies. So that prejudice that this is music for the dead people is not correct. That is one approach. Recently, after I started the Aramaic project, which we may be talking about in a little while, Christian Musicological Society of India, I started introducing Syriac chants to the younger people.
In this popular culture, we should document all these things digitally. So what are the attempts to archive the Syriac music?
Yes, very good. This is precisely what I'm doing now. This was my idea. The inspiration I got from New York, from the university studies on the PhD training, because we are studying music of different peoples in the world. The Christian Musicological Society of India, their primary concern is documentation. And so whenever I come for summer here, I have a team in Kadavandra, in Panampalli Nagar, And so I go with them and go to the field, contact old priests and old people, not only priests, church musicians, talk to them and document their melodies, starting from my own parish at Alapura Pallipuram. I grew up with this man, Paulus Vadapallil, and I went to him and documented him. He's no more. Most of those people are no more. Since you asked this, my biggest contribution, I wish I brought a copy of that CD. I will make it available. It's on the website. In 1999, I organized a recording of Syriac chants for a commercial recording for a company in Pan Records called Pan Records in Netherlands. It contains Syriac chants, original Syriac chants, sung by priests who knew the language, who were in the tradition, including the main singer was Father Abel CMI. He was sickly, but he came to Mandanam in Kottayam. We had a conference, and then we did the recording there. Most of them were old priests. And that CD is a precious, precious product of intangible world culture. My all summer vacation that I come here is a working vacation. I don't spare a day. My brother takes me around Kerala. We travel throughout Kerala, locate people, record them. And once I go back to America, the office in Panampalli Nagar, they edit it and they send it to me. I write notes about it. So all these materials are now available on YouTube. YouTube is our storage place. So I am creating a database that can be accessed by anybody, anywhere in the world. The most recent development was Russian Orthodox Church is planning an encyclopedia of Christian chants around the world. And they contacted me to talk about Syriac chants, to write a chapter on Aramaic chants in India. So I completed it before the war, Ukrainian war. I said, I don't know what is happening now. They haven't contacted me. I haven't seen the proof of it yet. They're supposed to send me the Gali proof. I haven't had a chance to see it. But they took interest in an encyclopedia of Christian music around the world. They wanted Aramaic chants in India. So that is a welcome development. Second, Oxford Handbook of Music and World Christianities. This is like a textbook about Christian music around the world. And I got the opportunity to write a chapter on Aramaic chants in India. So that is one chapter here. So I am really honored that Oxford University took interest in the Syriac Aramaic tradition in India. So this is the story that is ongoing.
Also, the American Library also took interest.
Yes, yes, very much. They invited me to give an endowment lecture, and they started documenting my work there. The copy of this Kambel Maran is in the American Library of Congress, already catalogued. And there's a small video of Christianity in Kerala. So much is happening. Thank you for leading me into that section of the conversation.
Many new informations. Thank you very much, Father Joseph J. Palakal, CMI. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
আমাদের ভিডিও ভালো লাগলে লাইক এবং শেয়ার করুন। কমেন্ট সেকশনে গিয়ে জানান আপনাদের মতামত। আরও ভিডিও পেতে আমাদের চ্যানেল সাবস্ক্রাইব করুন এবং প্রতি মুহূর্তে খবরের আপডেট পেতে প্রেস করুন বেল আইকন।